Hi Algebra 1, I have some more examples to go over with you about exponents. A lot of these just involve fractions because I feel that maybe you haven't seen these before, so I just want you to know what these actually mean. The very first example I have is if you have a fraction being raised to an exponent. Anytime that you have that, you need to individually raise everything in that fraction to the exponent it's being raised to. So for example, x over y to the third is the same thing as x to the third over y to the third. You do need to make sure that everything gets raised to that exponent, okay? In the second example, if your exponent is a fraction, a lot of people tend to confuse this as being x and 5/3. For example, your exponent is not the same thing as the fraction or as something with a fraction next to it. It's being raised to that fraction. The rule is whatever is in the denominator of that exponent fraction is the root that you are trying to find of the thing being raised to the numerator exponent. So for this example, x to the 5/3 is the same thing as the cube root of x to the 5th. I know that sounds weird, but remember that if there's a fraction as an exponent, the denominator is the root you are trying to find. A lot of times in math class, we secretly have been taking the square root of things. There's an invisible 2 there. It's no different. The root of something is you trying to find how many times that thing needs to be multiplied to get that as its answer. Okay, so I hope it's clear. If you're raising it to a fraction exponent, it's the same thing as the denominator root of the base being raised to the numerator. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to go over a very tricky example that you might see that involves a lot of exponents, a lot of fractions, a lot of just things going on. You have to deal with this piece by piece. If there are numbers, you need to try and simplify it. For example, I have 12 and 4 as my numbers, my coefficients. 12 over 4 reduces to 3. Okay, hopefully that's very simple. Hopefully we know where that's coming from. The other things, the x's and the y's, you need to make sure to just look at them one at a time. So I'm going to look at my x to the 8th over x squared. Because it's a fraction, I'm going to follow the division rule, which is x to the 8th over x squared. I'm going to do 8 minus 2, which turns into x to the 6th. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the y's. I'll ignore everything else. Y to the 5th over y. That's the same thing as y to the 5th divided by y to the 1st. And 5 minus 1 gives me y to the 4th. Okay, I'm going to go over one more example in a little bit. So hold tight. I'm going to try and find some trickier examples so that you can do the classwork effectively.